Leon Vance never liked the feeling of being watched. Yet, for the past few months, he couldn't shake the sensation that someone, or something, was following him. At first, he dismissed it as paranoia. Titan's colony wasn't a bustling city. It was a cold, quiet place where shadows stretched long under artificial lights. Maybe his mind was playing tricks on him. But the signs were there. Small things. His security drones detected movement where there was no one. His workstation logs showed access attempts he didn't authorize. When he walked home from the engineering labs, his shadow seemed longer, distorted, like something unseen was standing just behind him. Then he saw her. It was only for a moment, a reflection in the glass of a loading bay door, a figure, tall and still, standing on the rooftops above. Silver skin gleamed under the colony's dull lighting. Eyes, bright and violet, locked onto his before she vanished into the darkness. Leon's breath caught in his throat. Who was she? No one in the colony looked like that. He accessed the security feeds, rewound footage, scanned the area with heat sensors. Nothing. It was as if she had never been there. But Leon knew what he saw. The next week, he set a trap. He programmed his drones to scan for anomalies, anything beyond human parameters. He walked the same route home, pretending not to notice the flicker of movement at the edges of his vision. As soon as his security system triggered an alert, he turned sharply, blaster drawn. There she was. The woman stood a few meters away, completely still. Her face was unreadable, almost too perfect, as if sculpted by something beyond human hands. She didn't run, didn't flinch, didn't even reach for a weapon. Instead, she just watched him, her glowing eyes calm, studying him with quiet curiosity. Leon's grip tightened on the blaster. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head slightly. "You noticed me," she said, her voice smooth, carrying an odd melody to it. "Good." That answer only made Leon's pulse quicken. "You've been following me for weeks." He kept his weapon aimed at her. "What do you want?" The woman took a slow step forward. Leon felt his body tense, ready to fire. But she stopped just short of his range. "I had to be sure," she said. "Sure of what?" Leon demanded. The woman's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "That you are who I seek." Before he could press for answers, the colony's emergency sirens blared. A red light bathed the corridors as automated voices echoed through the halls. ALERT. Hostile forces. DTHTD. Evacuation protosigolas. Engaged. Leon's heart pounded. An attack. Titan was far from contested space. Who the hell would? The woman turned her gaze to the sky. For the first time, her expression changed, her calm mask cracking just enough to reveal something behind her eyes. Fear. She looked back at Leon. It has begun. And in that moment, Leon realized that whoever she wasn't his enemy. Something far worse was coming. Leon Vance barely had time to process what was happening. The colony's sirens blared across Titan's frozen surface, and automated defenses powered up along the perimeter. His wrist communicator flashed urgent messages from the colony's command center. Unidentified ships had entered orbit. Hostile forces detected. But who? Pirates. A rival faction. No one had any answers. The silver-skinned woman still stood before him, her violet eyes fixed on the sky. Her expression remained unreadable, but something in her stance had changed. She was tense, alert, ready. She knew something. Leon clenched his blaster. "What's coming?" he demanded. She finally looked at him. The Krill. Leon's blood ran cold. He had heard the name before. Everyone had. The Krill weren't just invaders. They were destroyers. A species that didn't conquer, didn't negotiate. They consumed. Planets, civilizations, entire species, all wiped from existence, their knowledge and bodies assimilated into the swarm. If they were here, Titan's colony was already as good as lost. A thunderous explosion rocked the settlement. The sky outside turned red as the colony's orbital defenses fired upon incoming enemy vessels. Leon cursed under his breath. He needed to get to the command center. He turned to run. The woman grabbed his wrist. "No." Leon yanked his arm free. "What do you mean, no?" "I need to." "They're here for you." Leon froze. "What?" The ground trembled again as another impact shook the colony. Overhead, the power flickered, and warning sirens shifted to evacuation orders. "All personnel, retreat to designated safe zones immediately." Leon glared at the woman. "What the hell are you talking about?" Before she could answer, the colony's outer gates collapsed. A nightmare poured through. The krill were not machines, nor were they truly organic. They were something in between. Biomechanical creatures with chitinous armor, razor-like limbs, and glowing, shifting patterns across their bodies. They moved like a swarm of locusts, their many eyes scanning, their mouths clicking in unnatural rhythms. The first wave tore through the outer defenses like paper. Colony guards opened fire, but their bullets barely slowed the creatures down. Leon backed up instinctively, his breath caught in his throat. He had never seen a krill in person. Now he was looking at hundreds. The woman stepped in front of him. Her silver skin shimmered, and from her arm, a sleek, curved weapon materialized. With inhuman speed, she moved, cutting through the first wave of krill with precision. They screeched as their bodies collapsed, dark fluid spraying onto the walls. Leon barely processed what he was seeing. She wasn't just some observer. She was a warrior. She turned to him, voice sharp. "We need to leave. Now." Leon looked back at the colony. People were fighting, dying. His instincts screamed at him to stay, to help, but deep inside, something told him she was right. The krill hadn't come here just to destroy. They had come for him. With no time left, Leon made his decision. He followed the alien woman into the chaos, leaving behind the only home he had ever known. Leon Vance ran through the collapsing colony, his breath coming fast and uneven. The ground shook with every explosion, the sky filled with the red glow of burning structures. The krill were everywhere, climbing the walls, smashing through doors, hunting. Their clicking sounds echoed in his ears, like a monstrous rhythm that only they understood. Ahead of him, the silver-skinned woman, Soraya Vale, moved like a ghost. Her violet eyes flickered with cold focus as she cut down any krill that got too close. Her weapon, an energy blade curved like a crescent moon, moved faster than Leon's eyes could follow. She was barely breaking a sweat, while Leon struggled just to keep up. Leon cursed under his breath. He was an engineer, not a soldier. He had spent his life working with machines, not fighting for his survival. But right now, none of that mattered. They reached a loading bay where an emergency shuttle was still intact. The colony's evacuation had begun, but it was clear not everyone would make it. The krill were overwhelming the defenses too fast. This wasn't an invasion. It was an extermination. Leon turned to Soraya, gripping his blaster tightly. "You said they were here for me," he said, his voice shaking with anger. "Why? What the hell do they want?" Soraya glanced at him, then at the incoming krill forces. "I will explain," she said, "but not here." Leon's jaw clenched. He didn't like being dragged into something he didn't understand. But understanding wouldn't save him right now. Running would. Soraya placed a hand on a device strapped to her belt. A second later, a ship materialized out of thin air just beyond the landing bay. Sleek, dark, and unlike anything Leon had ever seen. It hadn't just been cloaked. It had been completely phased out of visible space. "Move," Soraya commanded, dashing toward the ship. Leon hesitated. His entire life was on Titan, his work, his home. But he looked around and saw nothing but fire and death. The krill had taken it all in minutes. If he stayed, he would die. With a deep breath, he sprinted after her. Just as they reached the ship, the largest krill he had ever seen dropped from above. This one was different, taller, its body covered in armor-like plating, its glowing blue eyes locked onto Leon. Unlike the others, it didn't attack. It simply stood there, scanning him, as if confirming something. Then it spoke. "You are the one we seek." Leon's blood turned to ice. The krill never spoke. They weren't supposed to. They were mindless, a swarm acting on instinct. But this one, it was aware. Soraya wasted no time. She lunged forward, her energy blade slicing through the creature's armor. It let out an ear-piercing screech, but before it could retaliate, Soraya grabbed Leon's arm and yanked him onto the ship. The doors sealed behind them just as the krill lunged. The ship's engines roared to life, and in a blink, they were airborne. Titan's burning colony shrank below them. Leon's hands trembled as he stared out the viewport. His home was gone. The krill had destroyed everything. He turned to Soraya, his voice low, angry. "Now tell me the truth. Why are they after me?" Soraya met his gaze, her expression grim. "Because, Leon Vance, you are the key to their extinction." Leon's heart pounded. What the hell did that mean? As the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, he realized one thing. His life would never be the same again. Leon Vance sat in stunned silence, his mind racing. The krill had just wiped out an entire colony, but they hadn't come for Titan. They had come for him. Soraya Vale sat across from him in the dimly lit cabin of her sleek alien vessel. She was calm, as if she had expected this outcome. The ship's controls operated silently, guided by unseen forces. Leon had never seen technology like this. It felt alive, reacting to Soraya's thoughts rather than her hands. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to focus. "Start talking," he said. "Why did the krill say I was the one they were looking for?" Soraya studied him for a moment, then spoke. "Because you carry something rare, something powerful." She leaned forward. "Your DNA." Leon frowned. "What?" She gestured, and a holographic display flickered to life between them. It showed a double helix structure, glowing with strange patterns. "The krill don't just destroy," Soraya explained. "They consume. They absorb knowledge, abilities, genetic material, anything that makes a species unique. It's how they evolve." Leon felt a chill creep up his spine. "And what does that have to do with me?" Soraya's violet eyes locked onto his. "Because you are proof that something more powerful once existed." Leon shook his head. "That doesn't make sense. I'm just an engineer, a normal human." Soraya exhaled, almost as if she had expected his denial. "No, you are not." The hologram shifted, displaying images of ancient ruins, symbols, and alien artifacts. Long before the krill, before most known civilizations, there was another species, the precursors. They were godlike in power, shaping galaxies, bending the laws of physics. But then they vanished. No one knows why. Leon narrowed his eyes. "And you're saying I'm—" "What? A descendant of them." Soraya nodded. "Not just a descendant, a direct genetic key." Leon let out a short, bitter laugh. "That's insane. Billions of humans exist. You're saying I'm special." Soraya's expression remained firm. "Not all humans carry what you do. Your DNA has activated markers, fragments of ancient power hidden for generations. Somehow, the krill found out, and that's why they want you." Leon's stomach twisted. If what she was saying was true, then the krill didn't just want to kill him. They wanted to consume him, absorb whatever knowledge was locked inside his genes. He took a shaky breath. "So what now? I just run forever?" Soraya shook her head. "No, you fight." Leon scoffed. "Against the krill. With what? A wrench. I'm not some kind of hero." Soraya leaned closer. "You don't understand, Leon. This is bigger than you. If the krill consume you, they could unlock the very power that destroyed them once before. If they succeed, No one in the galaxy will be able to stop them. Leon swallowed hard. He had just wanted a simple life. Fixing machines, working in peace. Now he was being told he was the key to stopping the deadliest force in existence. Soraya stood. You don't have to believe me now. But soon, you will see the truth for yourself. Leon gazed at the endless stars outside. The krill wouldn't stop hunting him. And if Soraya was right, the fate of humanity itself rested in his hands, whether he liked it or not. Leon Vance sat in the dim glow of Soraya Vale's ship, his mind spinning. A genetic key. The last trace of an ancient power. It sounded like something out of a myth, not reality. But the krill had burned Titan's colony to the ground just to get to him. That part was real. Soraya was piloting the ship through uncharted space, her expression unreadable. She had told him they were heading somewhere safe, but Leon wasn't sure if he even knew what safe meant anymore. Finally, he broke the silence. Where are we going? She glanced at him. To the ruins of the last precursor outpost. If you are what I believe, it will respond to you. Leon frowned. And if it doesn't? Soraya didn't answer. That wasn't comforting. The ship approached a dying star system, the planets nothing more than skeletal remains of a forgotten age. But as they neared the third world, Leon's breath caught in his throat. A massive structure floated in orbit. A station, but unlike anything he had ever seen. It was ancient, colossal, yet untouched by time. Rings of metal, glowing with faint energy, spiraled around a central core, pulsing like a heartbeat. Leon swallowed hard. That's a precursor outpost. Soraya nodded. The last one that still has power. Others were either destroyed or lost to time. The ship docked at the station's surface, and a hatch opened. A metallic bridge extended beneath their feet as they stepped inside. The air was cold, heavy with silence. Leon shivered, feeling something watching him, like the station itself was alive. Soraya led him through the towering corridors, past walls covered in strange, glowing symbols. Leon didn't recognize the language, but somehow it felt familiar. His fingertips tingled. They reached a massive chamber, where an ancient console pulsed with light. Soraya gestured to it. Touch it. Leon hesitated. And if I get vaporized? She gave him a rare smirk. Then I was wrong. That wasn't reassuring, but something deep inside him needed to do this. Slowly, he stepped forward and placed his palm on the surface. The station awoke. Symbols lit up, golden energy flowing through the walls. The entire structure hummed, as if recognizing him. Then, a deep, resonating voice filled the chamber. Genetic signature confirmed. Access granted. Leon's heart pounded. The console's surface shifted, revealing a glowing projection. A hologram, a figure clad in precursor armor, its face hidden behind a golden mask. It spoke in a language Leon didn't know, yet somehow he understood. The swarm returns. The cycle begins anew. The hologram's gaze locked onto Leon. But you are the last seed of our vengeance. Leon's breath caught in his throat. The last seed. The hologram extended its hand. Energy flared around Leon, filling his mind with forgotten knowledge. Symbols, battlefields, weapons beyond anything in existence. Flashes of an ancient war fought against the krill. A war humanity was never supposed to remember. Leon staggered back, gasping. His body burned, his blood pulsing with something new. Soraya's voice cut through the haze. It's awakening in you. Leon clenched his fists. He didn't feel like the same person anymore. And deep inside, he knew. The war wasn't over. It had just begun. Leon Vance gasped for air, his hands gripping the ancient console as a flood of forgotten knowledge surged through him. His veins burned with golden energy, and his mind struggled to process the images flashing before his eyes. War, destruction, victory, loss. The precursors had fought the krill before, and they had won. But something had gone wrong. The holographic figure in front of him stood still, its golden mask hiding any emotion. You are the last vessel of our will, the last ember of a fire long extinguished. Leon clenched his fists, his body trembling from the overwhelming force coursing through him. I don't understand, he shouted. Why me? Why now? Syria Vale stepped closer, watching carefully. Leon, focus. The station is giving you something. Try to control it. He exhaled shakily and closed his eyes. The energy inside him wasn't just knowledge, it was power, a deep connection to something beyond himself. He could feel the station, its systems, its structure. He reached out with his mind, not knowing how or why. And the entire station responded. Lights blazed to life, the walls pulsing with renewed energy. Ancient machines, dead for thousands of years, hummed back to life. The station wasn't just a ruin. It was a weapon, and it had just reawakened. Soraya stared in disbelief. It's recognizing you as one of them. Leon took a shaky breath. This is too much. I'm just a man, not some ancient warrior. The hologram turned to him. You are more than you believe. Before he could respond, alarms flared throughout the station. A deep, rhythmic clicking echoed through the chamber, sending a chill down Leon's spine. He didn't need to ask. He already knew. The Krill had found them. Soraya's eyes darkened. We need to go. Now. Leon turned to the console. The station was speaking to him, not in words, but in instinct. It wasn't just a relic. It had one last function. A weapon. Leon pressed his hand to the controls. The station's outer rings began to shift, energy surging into its core. The golden symbols around them changed, forming a new message. Activating TWR Otociol. STORGFIRE. Soraya's gaze snapped to the display. What are you doing? Leon didn't know, but he felt it. The station was giving him a choice. Run or fight back. His hands tightened into fists. The Krill had destroyed his home. They had hunted him across the stars. If he let them keep chasing him, they would never stop. He looked up at the hologram. Show me how to fight. The golden figure extended its hand, and suddenly, Leon understood. A surge of energy pulsed through his body, and the knowledge of the precursors became more than just memories. It became his power. Soraya watched as golden light crackled around his fingertips. Leon, what have you done? Outside, the Krill fleet swarmed toward the station, ready to consume it. Leon turned toward the viewport, his eyes glowing with new strength. I've just changed the rules of this war. Leon Vance stood at the heart of the ancient precursor station, golden energy crackling around his hands. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel powerless. He didn't feel like just another man running from the Krill. He felt like something more. The station's systems responded to him as if he had always belonged there. He understood them. He wasn't just reading commands. He could feel the energy flowing through the ancient circuits, like the station itself was alive and waiting for his command. Outside, the Krill fleet closed in, their black, spiked ships blotting out the stars. Their chittering voices echoed through the station's communication system. They knew he was here. They knew what he had become. And they were afraid. Soraya Vale gripped her weapon, her violet eyes scanning the screens. Leon, whatever you're doing, do it fast. They're bringing the war fleet. Leon exhaled, placing his hands on the control panel. Then let's give them one. He focused, and the station obeyed. Massive panels shifted, revealing hidden weapon systems, golden energy cannons that had been dormant for centuries. The station had never been just an outpost. It was a fortress. The Krill ships opened fire first. Streams of green plasma rained down, but the station's ancient shields absorbed the attacks with ease. The Krill didn't understand what they were dealing with. Leon gritted his teeth. Your turn. With a single thought, he activated the Scourge Fire protocol. The station's cannons roared to life, unleashing blazing arcs of precursor energy. The golden beams cut through the krill ships like they were made of paper. One by one, the enemy vessels exploded, their organic hulls disintegrating in the wake of the station's fury. Soraya's eyes widened. By the void, Leon's heart pounded. He had never felt such raw power before. He wasn't just firing weapons, he was guiding them, controlling the station's attacks with his mind. He was connected to something ancient, something beyond humanity's understanding. The krill fleet panicked. They had come expecting an easy kill, but instead they had awakened a force they couldn't match. But the battle wasn't over. One of the largest krill warships pushed forward, its hull glowing with dark energy. Unlike the others, this one didn't fall back. Leon's body tensed. That one's different. Soraya's expression darkened. That's a hive dreadnought. It's carrying a queen. Leon's hands tightened into fists. He could feel the presence aboard that ship. Cold, calculating, hungry. The queen was watching him, studying him. And she wasn't afraid. She was challenging him. The station's weapons charged, but before Leon could fire, the dreadnought released a pulse of energy. The station's systems shuddered, and suddenly, the control panel flickered. Leon's mind reeled as a voice, not Soraya's, not the station's, spoke directly into his thoughts. You are not the first, and you will not be the last. Leon's breath caught. The krill weren't just hunting him. They had done this before, and they had won. The battle had only just begun. Leon Vance staggered back from the control panel, his breathing ragged. The voice inside his head, cold, ancient, filled with dark amusement, sent a chill down his spine. The krill queen was speaking to him, and she wasn't afraid. She had done this before. Soraya Vale turned to him, gripping his shoulder. Leon, what's wrong? He swallowed hard. The queen. She's inside my head. Before Soraya could respond, the station shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the krill dreadnought unleashed another energy pulse. This time, it wasn't an attack. It was a signal. Leon didn't need to be told what was coming. He could feel it. More krill ships began emerging from hyperspace. Dozens, then hundreds. The sky above the station turned black with their presence. The full invasion fleet. Soraya's eyes widened. We can't fight all of them. Even with this station. Leon clenched his fists. The station had awakened, but it wasn't fully operational. The krill knew that. They weren't here to destroy it. They were here to take him. A sudden, piercing pain shot through Leon's skull. He dropped to his knees, gasping. The queen's voice whispered inside his mind, like venom wrapping around his thoughts. You are not a warrior. You are a fragment of the past, and I will consume you, as I have consumed all before you. Leon gritted his teeth. Not this time. He forced himself to his feet, ignoring the searing pain in his head. He had activated the Scourge Fire protocol, but the station was still holding back, as if waiting for something. Soraya grabbed his arm. Leon, listen to me. We need to escape. We'll find another way. Leon shook his head. No. If we leave now, they'll just keep hunting me. The next time, there won't be a station to protect us. He turned to the control panel. There has to be something more. The hologram of the precursor warrior flickered back to life. Its golden mask stared at him, unreadable. Final protocol remains locked. Leon's heart pounded. How do I unlock it? The station trembled. The krill fleet had begun their assault. Plasma fire rained down, crashing against the station's shields. Sparks flew from the walls. The fortress was powerful, but against an entire invasion fleet, it wouldn't hold forever. The queen's voice slithered through his mind. Surrender. It is inevitable. Leon growled, slamming his fist against the console. Shut up. Then, suddenly, clarity. The precursor hologram spoke again. Only one of our kind may wield the final weapon. Leon's eyes widened. The station wasn't looking for a descendant. It was looking for a precursor. And Leon wasn't one. But he wasn't just human anymore either. Gritting his teeth, he placed both hands on the console, pouring his will into it. The golden energy inside him flared, merging with the station's core. The walls glowed brighter than ever before. The station's ancient systems hummed with a new purpose. The final weapon was unlocking. Outside, the Krill Queen screamed. Leon opened his eyes, his voice steady. "Come and get me." The Krill Queen's scream rippled through space, a shriek of rage and fear. The precursor station had fully awakened, and Leon Vance was at its core. He could feel its power running through his veins, energy as old as the stars, waiting for a final command. The invasion fleet rained destruction upon the station. Plasma fire slammed against its golden shields, shaking the structure. Time was running out. Soraya Vale gripped her weapon, her voice urgent. "Leon, whatever you're doing, do it now. The shields won't hold forever." Leon's mind was no longer just his own. The last memory of the precursors flowed through him. He could see it, how they had fought the Krill before, how they had almost won. But in the end, they had failed. This time, the story would end differently. He pressed his hands against the glowing control panel, his voice steady. "Activate the final weapon." The station shook violently. Ancient machinery, silent for millennia, roared back to life. Golden energy surged through the structure, forming massive rings around it. The air crackled with pure, raw power. The precursor hologram flickered before him. Final protocol. Exodus fire. Confirm activation. Leon understood. The precursors had left a last resort, a weapon so powerful it could erase the Krill from existence. It had never been fired. The war had ended before they had a chance. Leon clenched his fists. Confirm activation. Outside, the Krill Queen must have sensed what was happening. Her fleet stopped their attack. Then she spoke again, her voice slithering into Leon's mind like a disease. "Do this, and you will share our fate." Leon's breath was heavy. He could feel the power of the station coursing through him. If he unleashed it, the Krill fleet would be wiped out, but so would the station. And maybe him too. Soraya's voice pulled him back. "Leon, there's another way. You don't have to." He turned to her, eyes glowing with golden light. "If we let them live, they'll never stop. They'll just come back, stronger." Her gaze softened. "Then let's end it together." Leon took a deep breath. Not alone. Never alone. The station reached full charge. The rings aligned, focusing their energy toward the enemy fleet. The Queen's dreadnought trembled under the sheer force of the weapon's might. Leon lifted his hands. The Exodus fire was unleashed. A wave of golden energy exploded outward, engulfing the Krill fleet. The warships disintegrated, their monstrous hulls turning to dust in seconds. Even the Queen's vessel could not escape. Her final scream echoed through Leon's mind. Then, silence. The Krill were gone. The station, its purpose fulfilled, began to collapse. Systems failed, walls cracked, energy drained away. Soraya grabbed Leon's arm. Time to go. The two raced toward the ship, the station crumbling around them. They barely made it inside before Soraya launched the engines, tearing away from the dying fortress. From the viewport, Leon watched as the station, the last piece of the precursors, vanished in a final, blinding burst of golden light. And then, it was over. Leon slumped into his seat, exhaustion finally hitting him. He wasn't sure what he was anymore. Not just human, not precursor. Something new. Soraya smirked. "You survived. Not bad for an ancient warrior." Leon chuckled, shaking his head. Guess humanity just rewrote history. The Krill were gone. The war was over. But Leon knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage. And this time, they weren't just survivors. They were the strongest. The precursors had fallen, but humanity had won.